This video will change your lead guitar playing forever. At the heart of blues, rock, and country guitar playing is the pentatonic scale. In this video, I will teach you how to flow through the pentatonic positions in a way that you might not have thought about before. You'll want to grab your guitar for this one. Let's get into it. We are going to improvise over the G7, C7, and D7 chords for these examples today, but all of these solo ideas are movable. I will leave a link for this great, fun backing track, but it's so important to know the rhythm to create a great lead guitar solo. You can skip ahead to the next chapter if you already know this type of rhythm. So this backing track is clipping along at 160 beats per minute in G7. The right hand rhythm will really help you when you improvise a guitar solo because you have that motion, you're putting your heart into it, and that right hand is part of that. If we slow it down, see, I'm stroking the bass note and then hitting the chord. And really, it's the right hand motion, because when we start to learn these solo phrases, that motion, I use that to help keep myself in time and lock into those chord changes. So here's the full demo of this fun solo. So now I'll play the solo at slower speed so you can see how those phrases connect a little easier, but then I'll break down each phrase, each section of the chord changes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's break it down even farther over each chord change. The first section, G7, is eight full bars, 4 beats in each measure. So just this section, So I'm using major and minor pentatonic, But for me, the simplest way to look at this, and I need it simple because I don't know a lot of deep theory, but I use the minor pentatonic positions and add the major notes to it. So right away, I'm looking at this first position, G minor pentatonic. And the first phrase is major pentatonic, but just for that split second. So I'm just playing off of the root here, G note in the 5th fret of the D string, but sliding from 5 to 7 on the A string. And it goes pretty quick, but if you struggle with any of these, just play them slow, even at a metronome slow. Another thing I want to say is a lot of times I'm plucking up with my ring finger and my middle finger here. Not every time, but you can definitely play all this with a pick. You can hear a little, that high end, almost a Telecaster kind of sound when I pluck up, a lot of times with this middle finger. The next phrase. So full bend on 5 of G string. You're bending to the D note, then hitting D in the 3rd fret of the B string. Then you're hitting that blue note, 6, 5, 3, and back to the root here in the 5th fret of the D string. And then hit the root again, 5, 5 on the G, root, hammer on from 3 to 4 on the G string, back to that root, really hugging the root notes on all of these phrases. So those first two, and then we move up to another major pentatonic phrase. Again, I like to look at the pentatonic pattern here. G minor pentatonic here, and that would be the 3rd position. I don't even think of it as position, so I have to kind of think about it, but some of you might do that. So I'm on that root there at the end of that phrase, sliding from 8 to 9 on the D string, 7 on the G, 9 on the G, and then the root note here in the 8th fret of the B string. So all 3 of those phrases together kind of cover that whole 8 bars there of G7. And it's important to really, maybe you might have to count the measures, but it's just important to know when those chords change, because I'm kind of targeting a few chord tones as we go through the solo, and I'll point that out. There it is, section 1. So section 2 here is going to the C7 chord for 4 bars. So at full speed, this first phrase is on the G and B strings. Really, I like to look at it together as double stops, but we are going to pick some of it. So to start off, we have the 7 and 6, then 8, 7, 9, 8. But I'm kind of chromatically sliding up. And that gives it a great tension there, and then it releases. Once you get to that G note, we're on the C7 chord, so it sounds great. But just look at it as double stops. I like to. but just on the G string, chromatically walk up just that one fret. And then do another quick chromatic thing on 10, 9, and 8 on the E string. Full bend on 11, so you're bending to a C note, 11 on the B string. And then 8, 11, 8. Then a few more bends you can do. This is, a lot of this doesn't have to be perfect on time. You'll see as you start doing it. But then that full bend is important though, to bend to the C note. And then I'm thinking a little bit of a major phrase as it's going back to G7. So full bend on 10 of the B string, 8, 9, 10. So just a half bend here on 10, release, back to 8, 9 on the G, and then back to the home bass here on 8 of the B string. This section, section 2 altogether. So section 3 here is going back to the G7 chord, full speed. And this is also 4 bars. So I'm hitting another double stop here with a slight bend. So we're looking at 11 on the B, 10 on the E string, but I'm bending it a half step up to the B note, which you're right there, you're hitting all the chord tones back to the G. So while you're holding the double stop, bend the B string only a half step. This gives it a great bluesy sound. Then 12, 10, 12. Then walking down, 10 on the G string, 12, 11, 10, 9 on the D string. And you're landing on a B note here, which is in the G chord also. That all ties into that G7 chord. One time all the way through. So section 4 is going to the D7 chord, which is only 2 bars, so it goes by pretty quick. And I'm really looking at the D minor pentatonic here. So another double stop here on the 10th fret of the G and B strings, and then just a slight bend here, a quarter bend. 12, 10, 12 on the D string. Then I kind of just break them and slid right back down. That's just a great way to end a phrase. So section 5 goes 2 bars into the C7 chord, right after the D7 we just did. The phrase is really simple, just really looking at the 14th fret is an E note, and the 12th fret of the G string is the G octave. But you're chromatically sliding to the E note. It just hugs that C7 chord really well. Just hit it and then slide up to it. From the D, C. Okay, this is the last section in the solo, section 6, and this is 4 bars of G7. Then I'm going right up to the octave of the G minor pentatonic here. At full speed. Double stop here on the G and B strings, half bend. Then 17, 15, back to 17, and that's the root note here, G. Then a classic rock lick. Full bend on 17. Then raking the B string, the E string, and back to B here on 15th fret. Full bend on 18 and release. So far. The next part, 15, 18, 15, then a full bend on 18. And then walking down one more time at the very end here. Got the 15, 18, 15, full bend and release on 17 of the G string. 15, back to the root note on 17, and then hammer on from 15 to 16. Back to that root. All together. The pentatonic scale is a powerful tool to improvise with. A lot of people try to get away from it and think they're going to sound better, but almost all my guitar heroes use the pentatonic scale and it sounds fantastic. And I guarantee you can improve your lead guitar solos with this type of phrasing. Playing small phrases over each chord and pausing. That's what we did through this whole thing, is just leave some space in between each phrase. This is just a fun way to play the guitar, even on this fast track here, and I will leave a link for this backing track. This is fun to do that. You don't necessarily have to shred through this thing. You can play some fast phrases and then pause, get to the next phrase. I hope you have fun with this. Keep working at it, and thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Let's talk soon.